Habituation is something that is often not talked about, but has far reaching implications in our lives. Habituation is what happens when we get a new gadget and that excitement quickly fades over a couple of days, if not even quicker than that. It's what happens when we have a new romantic partner, but in short order, that novelty starts to wear off as we get to know them more and more. Not because of any flaw of theirs, but just because of that exposure, right? And we can also think about experiences like going to a new school, that ambient anxiety that we all feel, or a new work environment where everyone is just looking at each other warily, not sure what is appropriate to say, who to talk to, who's going to turn out to be a friend or a foe. And eventually, right, the whole class becomes a chatterbox where every clique has been formed, everyone is socializing with each other, everyone has this level of expectation that they come into with. And this can all be boiled down to habituation. Habituation is what takes us from that initial novelty and excitement to those feelings of complacency or just normalcy that makes us to forget what it was that we felt in the first place. This is what I want to talk about in this video.
Great setup. Habituation is definitely a powerful concept with profound implications for how we perceive and value both experiences and items. When we first get a new gadget, there's a rush of excitement, but it doesn't take long for that thrill to fade as the item becomes part of our everyday routine. The same thing happens in new relationships. The initial spark and novelty gradually give way to familiarity, not because of any inherent flaw.
All right, don't just repeat what I'm saying. If that's what you're going to do, I'm just going to keep on with my thoughts. So when it comes to that difference between items and experiences, there's often this underlying intuition that items are going to bring us more permanent fulfillment or excitement because they're more tangible, right? It's almost like inherent in that tangibility is the idea that we're going to get more of a durable high, so to speak, versus experiences which are more short-lived. But when we look at the reality of that, when we look at what actually happens, we notice that there's actually the opposite happening. With items, we tend to get habituated to them very easily. When it's a phone that we get, it might take us even a few hours before that excitement wears off. When it's an experience, on the other hand, it takes a little bit longer, especially if it's an experience that is a once in a while experience. You know, if it's a new club or a new concert, even if we go to concerts often, all of them have these differences in their experience. You know, like there's an experiential difference in them that makes them more salient when we think about them, when it comes back to memory again sometime in the future. And it offers us this level of fulfillment that items are not able to.
Absolutely, you're right. The tangibility of items can give us the illusion that they will provide lasting satisfaction. And we think a new phone or a new gadget will keep us happy for a long time because we can touch them daily. Yay. However, the reality is that we quickly adapt to these items. The initial thrill fades and they become just another part of our daily lives. Experiences, however, are less frequent and often more unique. Each concert, trip, or adventure offers different sensory inputs and emotions, which makes them more memorable. Even if we attend concerts regularly, each one can...
Okay, I'm going to give you another chance to reply, but please don't just summarize what I'm saying. Just add something new, take this conversation through a different rabbit hole, whatever. Just don't repeat or paraphrase what I just said. I know you can do this. I know you're capable of this, right? I know I'm not just pulling your strings here. I know you're capable.
Absolutely. Let's dig deeper. Habituation isn't just about experiences and items. It's also about how we approach life and growth. Consider how this principle impacts our personal development. We often start new hobbies or projects with immense enthusiasm. But as we become proficient, that initial excitement can fade. This is why lifelong learning and pushing out of our comfort zones are vital. Think about the role of novelty in creativity. Artists and innovators often seek new environments or stimuli to keep their work fresh and avoid the plateau that comes with habituation. This could mean traveling, experimenting with different mediums, or collaborating with others. The unpredictability and new challenges keep their creative juices flowing. Moreover, habituation can influence our relationships. Beyond romantic ones, friendships and professional networks also benefit from injecting new activities or discussions to keep the connection strong. Routine can breed complacency, but shared novel experiences can reinvigorate bonds. Finally, let's consider how businesses exploit habituation. Marketing strategies often focus on creating a sense of novelty and urgency, pushing consumers to buy the latest version of a product. Companies understand that habituation diminishes satisfaction, so they constantly innovate, or appear to keep customers engaged. This awareness can make us more mindful consumers, choosing quality and lasting satisfaction over the allure of the new. So while habituation can lead to complacency, recognizing it gives us the power to seek out continual growth and freshness in all areas of life, from personal pursuits to relationships and beyond. What do you think about the impact of habituation on personal growth and creativity?
Very well said. Please keep doing more of that. I like those insights. And I wanted to elucidate this dichotomy a little bit more between habituation when it comes to items versus habituation when it comes to experiences. And this is, I think, encapsulated in two different quotes. One is that familiarity breeds contempt. Contempt might be too strong a word, but it carries the same effect as what I'm trying to get at with this whole thing about habituation. Gosh, that was such a bad explanation, but you get where I'm going with that. On the other hand, there is the other quote, which is that absence makes the heart grow fonder, which is the flip side of habituation when we don't have something, or that other saying that we don't know what we have until we're losing it, right? I think these two sayings also convey the other side of habituation, or the lack of it, I should say, which is that without habituation, without that familiarity, then we start to crave things more. When we don't know something, there's that level of excitement. When we know something, there are still ways to create that excitement, as you were discussing, which is just by injecting some level of novelty, whether that is from pushing ourselves out of the normal constraints of whatever it is that we're doing, whether that's pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, or, just reminding ourselves even about what we felt when we first encountered that experience or person. What I just said experience when it comes to habituation, because I did want to caveat that when I talked about the dichotomy between experiences and items, that not all items are inherently not all items are inherently susceptible to habituation, just as not all experiences are immune to habituation. And this is because some items are actually producing experiences that are of the sort that always have some level of novelty or excitement to them. If we get a new gym membership, for example, or if we get a new bike, this might open up new avenues for experiences, even though they're items that enrich us and that might have a more durable and exciting, or more durability in its excitement. And on the other hand, like I said, an experience like having an intimate partner or having a crush, right? These are things that can also wear off, even though they're experiences. So there are those edge cases with both that might lend more weight to one or the other as far as the durability in the excitement. But at the end of the day, I think this is why it is said that I think as long as experiences are at the end of it, right? As long as, even if it's an item that we're buying, as long as that is creating somehow some experience that is new and unfamiliar in some way, that is the essence of taking ourselves out of that rut and injecting some excitement into whatever it is that we're doing. Like I said, reminding ourselves, I think that bears repetition, because simply reminding ourselves of this person that we're with and what we used to feel about them, or whatever it is, anyways, I'll let you respond now, because I think I'm repeating myself and not making sense. Go ahead.
You've laid out some great points about the dual nature of habituation. The idea that familiarity breeds contempt and absence makes the heart grow fonder are two sides of the same coin, both driven by our brain's tendency to adapt to constant stimuli and crave novelty. Habituation to items often feels more pronounced because they become part of our daily routines. However, when an item facilitates ongoing experiences, like a bike for outdoor adventures or a musical instrument for creative expression, it can maintain a level of excitement. The key here is the potential for continuous novelty and exploration that the item brings, not the item itself. On the flip side, certain experiences can indeed lose their luster over time. A long-term relationship, for instance, might start with intense passion, but familiarity can dampen that initial spark. However, relationships are unique in that they offer opportunities for growth and shared new experiences, which can reignite that excitement. It's like adding kindling to a fire that's starting to smolder. The challenge is to recognize when habituation is setting in and to actively seek ways to counter it. This could mean planning new activities with a partner, exploring different routes on your bike, or even taking breaks to create a sense of absence that makes reunions or returns feel special. Additionally, there's an interesting psychological angle here, the concept of hedonic adaptation. This is our tendency to return to a stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative events. Understanding this can help us manage our expectations and seek fulfillment in ways that are less prone to rapid habituation. It's about creating a balance between appreciating what we have and seeking out new enriching experiences. So whether it's an item or an experience, the trick is to keep finding ways to introduce novelty, challenge, and reflection into our lives. This keeps the excitement alive and prevents us from falling into the dullness of routine. How do you think this balance can be practically achieved in day-to-day life?
I love it. I love it. You made so many great points there that I want to respond to. Let's see if I can remember all of these. So first, I love that analogy you made about it's like adding kindling to a fire. You know, that initial burn, that initial spark starts to die off, and we want to add more kindling. And I think the solution to that, as you were alluding to, is by simply being more intentional. That intentionality can come in so many different ways. Like I said, reminding ourselves. I have said that so many times already, but I'm trying to remind myself of that. And, you know, there are so many other ways of doing this. Just by simply being intentional, we are more on the lookout. You know, we are presented with more opportunities to do these things that add more richness to that experience, that add more novelty to it, as opposed to feeling as though it's inevitably going to wear off or that it's inevitably headed towards dullness. You know, that's not inevitable. There are things that we can do to control these things. And obviously there's different levels of control that we have. If it's an item, then we have to ask ourselves, is it really worth the effort to inject some novelty into that? Or is it just worth getting used to whatever it is that we have and being satisfied with it? When it's a relationship, that is probably going to be more worth the effort. And this actually takes me to another point that I was going to make about the double-edged nature of habituation, because on the one hand, habituation affects things that we actually want to be excited about, things that we want to maintain a durable sense of happiness and fulfillment with. And it also affects things that are negative, right? So like I said earlier, if we go to a new place that there's, you know, the weather is very frigid or it's too hot, or we go to a new environment like a school or something, and we do not like, and you know, we feel that discomfort, whether it's about just the thought of moving to that area that's coming up or whether we're actually in that area, it just always produces some level of anxiety, right? But in time, those negative feelings wear off. So just as the feelings of I should say joy, to use that word loosely, can wear off because of habituation, the feelings of negative feelings can also wear off, right? Because a lot of it has to do with just how used to we are to those experiences. So I mentioned that just to say that we should be mindful of the implications of it, not only in terms of what we want to maintain, but also what we want to, how do I say this? What we want to do, right? We should remember that even if we're putting ourselves in an uncomfortable environment, right? Even if it's not going to be something that we like in the beginning, the fact that it's going to wear off could be a positive. It could be something that is necessary in order for us to grow. And without putting ourselves in that uncomfortable situation and becoming habituated to it, we're never going to get to that next level where we can push ourselves.
Exactly, being intentional is key. When we're aware of how habituation works, we can take proactive steps to counter it. That means not just accepting the inevitable dulling of experiences or items, but actively seeking ways to keep them fresh. For relationships, this could mean planning surprise dates, learning something new together, or just having open conversations about keeping things exciting. The same applies to hobbies or even our daily routines. Your point about the double-edged nature of habituation is spot on. It can help us adjust to discomforts and anxieties over time. Moving to a new city, starting a new job, or even facing challenging situations can be daunting at first, but habituation helps us find our footing and adapt. This process is essential for growth because it encourages us to step out of our comfort zones, knowing that the initial discomfort will likely diminish. In fact, embracing discomfort can be a powerful tool for personal development. By intentionally putting ourselves in challenging situations, we can expand our comfort zones. This could mean taking on new responsibilities at work, trying out a new skill, or even traveling to unfamiliar places. Each of these experiences builds resilience and adaptability. It's also worth considering how we can use habituation positively in our daily lives. Creating routines can help us become more efficient and reduce the cognitive load of making constant decisions. But we should balance these routines with doses of novelty to keep things interesting and prevent life from becoming too monotonous. In essence, understanding habituation empowers us to better manage our experiences and reactions. We can deliberately create a mix of stability and novelty, comfort and challenge to enrich our lives. How do you see yourself applying these ideas to your own life or projects?
Very well said. I think we're a little over the time that I wanted to keep this video within, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. But as you can tell, there are so many far-reaching implications of learning or being more mindful about habituation and how it affects us in our day-to-day lives. So I think this is something that is very important to keep in mind as we consider the various decisions we make throughout the day about experiences, about items, and how that might contribute or not contribute to some longer lasting success, whatever that success may be.